Hi, I'm Ann. Welcome back to another edition of Urbana Park District cooking classes. Today I'm going to show you an easy homemade salad dressing recipe. These vinaigrette recipes are super easy. You can do them at home with very few ingredients. These are all the ingredients that I'm going to put into my salad dressing today. And we are going to do a strawberry vinaigrette in honor of strawberry season, which is coming up if it would ever stop snowing. So I've got a quart of washed strawberries here. I'm going to cut the top off and just cut them in half so they blend easily. You don't have to do a small dice on them or anything like that. And we'll just cut these up. I'm not going to use the whole quart because I don't want to make that much salad dressing. So I'm going to use about half the quart. And oops, that one tried to run away. And usually vinaigrette recipes, no matter what you're making, you can make homemade champagne vinaigrette, Italian vinaigrette. It's usually the same ratio, 1 cup vinegar to 3 cups olive oil. So that's kind of your cheat recipe while you're thinking about homemade salad dressings. And honestly, making salad dressings, if you have a blender, can save you a lot of money, and usually they're a lot better tasting than if you buy pre-bought salad dressings at the grocery store. So unlike ranch dressing, which is mayonnaise based, these are going to be vinegar and oil based. Oops. And using the 1-to-3 ratio. So if I were going to make Italian dressing, I would add Italian herbs, and then you would use the vinegar appropriate to that. So I would use kind of a milder vinegar. If I were going to be making just a simple vinaigrette, I would probably use red wine vinegar with herbs. Red wine vinegar is a little more mild than white distilled vinegar and apple cider vinegar. Alright, I'm almost finished chopping up these strawberries. And I always think when I'm making dressings about color, this is going to have a fantastic pink color to it. You can make dressings out of any type of fruit. You could make banana vinaigrette if you want to. I don't know what you would eat it on, maybe a peanut butter sandwich. But as long as you're using the 1-to-3 ratio, there are no rules here. Alright, one more little strawberry. Now, what I'm going to do, and this process is a little bit important, because when you're adding an oil and vinegar based salad dressing, you want to add the oil very, very slowly because you want it to be emulsified into the vinaigrette. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my vinegar first, and I'm going to do the 1-to-3 ratio. So I'm adding 1 cup of vinegar, and that's actually a little bit much for the amount of strawberries that I have in here, so I'm going to cut it down, and I'm only going to use a half a cup. So I'm going to use a half a cup, and you're still using the 1-to-3 ratio. So instead of using 3 cups, I'm going to use 1.5 cups of olive oil. So I'm going to go ahead and get that ready, but I'm not going to add it in yet. You can already, that vinegar really is like salt to the strawberries. You can smell the aromas coming out of them. It really brings out the sweetness of the strawberries, surprisingly enough, since vinegar is acidic. We're going to balance out that acid with some honey. So we're going to use honey like salt and pepper. We're going to do that to taste. Now I know this is going to be a little bit acidic, so I'm going to start with a little bit of honey to start, and then just like salt, start with a little bit, you can add more in later. If I can get my little honey bear to cooperate. So I'm just going to add a little bit of honey right now, not too much. And I'm going to add a little bit of salt to start us off, and a little bit of cracked black pepper, not too much, because we can always go back and add it in again. Alright, now I have the base for my vinaigrette all ready to go, and I'm going to take this and my olive oil, and I'm going to take it over to my blender. I'm going to turn the speed on medium, so I want it to puree all the strawberries so it's not lumpy. And then after all the strawberries are pureed, then I'm going to slowly emulsify the olive oil into this. Mixing the olive oil into the salad dressing, it is going to make it a little bit thicker. So if you feel like if the liquid gets too thick, it might separate the oil from the vinegar. If that happens, no big deal. You can still eat it. Not all is lost. But before that happens, the way to prevent that is to just add a little bit of water to thin it out. And I would add maybe a teaspoon of water at a time because you don't want to drown out the wonderful flavor of the strawberries and everything you've added in here. So we were able to get all of our oil in. You can see how thick this is now. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a taste test to make sure we're okay on flavoring, like honey, salt, and black pepper. You can see this wonderfully beautiful pink color, which is going to look really nice on our kale salad. So I'm going to take a little test, and you can see the viscosity of this. You want it to be thick, where you can, almost like yogurt, where you can run your finger through it and you can still see your finger line. I think this is still a little bit tart, so I'm going to add a little bit more honey and a little bit more salt, and then we'll see where we're at. So I ended up adding about another ½ teaspoon of honey, and I'm just going to keep adding that honey until the bite kind of comes out from the back of your mouth. So next, all we're going to do once we're finished with this is we're going to pour it over some beautiful kale mix that came from local farms. You can find kale from Meyer Farms, Blue Moon Farms, Solagradia Farms, and Hendrick House Farms right now. And this sweetness will kind of go over really well with the bitterness and sourness of the kale. We've got the right amount of seasoning in our salad dressing now, and this is what it should look like when it's finished. Nice and thick. This will stay good in the refrigerator for about 4 or 5 days, so don't feel like you have to hurry up and use it all in one night. So on our last cooking segment, we learned how to make homemade cheese. And I saved some of that homemade cheese for this segment because it pairs really well with this strawberry vinaigrette. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to drizzle it over this beautiful local kale salad. And you have a gourmet dinner. Happy cooking!